back for the Shot at Business Central segment here on our podcast. And we've got a few Business Central news items that we're going to talk about. So the first one is that the update 16.5 for Microsoft Dynamics Business Central was released. It's basically 5 platform hotfixes, 41 application hotfixes, and 1 feature change. The feature change is probably the most important thing of it, I would say, and that is the delete extension data. So on the extension management page, when you choose to uninstall an extension, the option now to delete the extension data is also available. I guess this is the equivalent of an extension uninstall for on-premises with clean mode. That's what they're saying.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, it just doesn't leave that data hanging out there. I don't think it hurts anything, or we haven't seen any reports of where that causes any issues. Mm-hmm. But why not just get rid of the data if you're uninstalling it for good, right? And you don't want it in there anymore, then you'd clear it with the data.
Right. Just completely wipe it.
Yeah.
There is a deprecated features in Business Central webpage that was discovered. This web page shows the features that have been moved, removed, or replaced with an upcoming new version. And it also tells you why this has been done. We'll put a link in the show notes to this page. So an example of this would probably be like, the Windows client and why it was removed. It'll tell you what the reasoning was behind it. Next up, we have the retirement of Partner Source on October 1st, 2020. So maybe we should play some sad music.
Yeah, we're so upset by that.
Anytime Microsoft can remove a page without adding a page, I think it's a good thing. So,
basically, they've just transferred the functionality that was there for partners on Partner Source has been just transferred over into the Partner Center.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the Partner Source Business Center.
Yeah, so they've kind of moved. Well, the Partner Source Business Center it will remain.
That's going to remain, yes.
That'll remain. The Partner Business Center or whatever it's called. Yeah, for ordering and license management.
Yeah.
That's going to stay. But most of the content, all the other content, right, from Partner Source, just effectively is moved.
Right. So they're just getting rid of one other page, which is a good thing since there's 500 million. All right, extended availability of Business Central on-premises version 14 for existing customers. So basically, Business Central on-premises has what is called the N2 policy. And with the release of version 17 on October 1st, that would mean that a downgrade to version 14 would not be possible anymore. However, Microsoft has now announced that they're going to offer a one-time exception for existing customers that have an active enhancement plan and want to downgrade to version 14 until October 31st, 2021, which is a good thing. I mean, I guess, Business Central version 14 is kind of the stepping stone to, all the other features or whatnot.
Yep, it's the latest release that still has the availability of objects and the Windows client. Right.
Perfect. So we'll put the official link to that in the show notes too. Also came across a AppSource blog which lists, I know I teased Ken with this earlier, but it lists all the new apps on AppSource, but it doesn't break it down by which product. But you at least can see within the last 2 weeks there was 56 new apps. You can see which ones they are. And if you want to take the time clicking each one, you can find out which one is applicable to Business Central.
Yeah, no, I'll do that once I'm done stabbing my pencil in it.
Well, Halloween is coming. So, also discovered how to change which production or sandbox environment opens up with either the desktop app or the mobile app. This can be done relatively easy. You're basically taking a URL code, pasting it into whichever browser that you're using on your mobile app or on your desktop. Once you put this code in there and you add your environment name, it'll ask you if you want to open this up in the app, and then going forward, every time you open the app, that environment will open up. So for me, it's great because I do a lot of testing and trying out things in the sandbox. So I can actually open up a sandbox environment on my mobile app or on the desktop app instead of the actual production.
That was more difficult to do before.
Yeah, I had looked for it for the last year or so on how to do it. I never was able to do it, and just found it now. And the last bit of information that I have is you can now assign a Dynamics 365 admin role in Office 365 to any user that you want to allow them access to the Business Central Admin Center.
Okay.
So, Ken, what you got?
Just a couple notes, and then I want to dive into a little bit of descriptions on some of the features on 2020 Wave 2. The first thing is, just if you go out onto AppSource and you look at the apps, I think I noticed that there are currently 974 apps for Business Central out there. One, it's a big number. Two, it's kind of closing in on the 1,000 app milestone.
It is.
So maybe by next month we may pass that threshold of 1,000.
Yeah. It's going to be close. I'm trying to think if 2 years ago, or however long it's been, if I would have thought at this point we would have had 1,000 apps at this time. And I would probably guess no, just because, like with everything else, it's going to start off a little slow. People have to figure out how to use it, how to do it, how to create apps and whatnot. Yeah. So it's great. It's showing long-term investment by not only Microsoft, but also by the consumer.
Yep. So that is definitely a good number once they hit that 1,000 threshold. The other note, just next week is the Business Central User Group Community Summit, I think it's called. And I just want to self-plug here that I'm hosting a session next Friday, so that's October 9th, 10:30 a.m. Central, I believe it is. And the session is called Custom Business Central Reports in 5 minutes.
Wow.
Yes way.
So it's possible.
Clever title. And what I'm actually going to be going through is highlighting the standard integration between Business Central and Power BI, and what some of the tools are that you can use to easily create your own reports in Power BI using Business Central data.
Very nice.
So it's kind of an introductory level. I mean, if you're already building Power BI reports, you know, pulling BC data and stuff, maybe spend your time elsewhere. But if you want to learn more about, okay, what comes out of the box, how does it work, and how do I do this, definitely might want to consider attending if you're registered for the conference next week.
Sounds like a great course. And Ken is always one of the best presenters at all these anyway. I've talked to a bunch of Microsoft people who always have high regard for Ken's sessions and the way he prepares and presents the information. So, like Ken said, check it out. It's definitely worth it.
Thank you, Michael. I see my bribes and payoffs to Microsoft are working.
You've hooked me on beer, too.
All right, so in terms of last kind of topic I want to get through, it's kind of a longer topic here, but just to kind of go through is talk through some of the key features and changes that are coming out in October with 2020 Wave 2. As you mentioned, it's still in preview. None of these features are available yet in the production environment, and even some of them I don't even know that they're in the preview, right? But the first one is Company Hub. We're going to hold off on talking about that, though, because that's going to be our feature spotlight.
Okay.
Our apps. Featured app is going to be the Company Hub. Couple quick notes, though. So they've added 4 additional countries for availability for Business Central: Brazil, Ireland, Lithuania, and India.
Wow.
So 4 more regional locations. They've continued to improve the GP data migration tool. They added bank checkbooks and open purchase orders.
Wow.
So those 2 sets of data are now part of that data migration plan. I saw a bunch of general changes. It said like there are improvements to the launch time of the Role Center page.
Oh.
So just opening the Role Center page faster. Better fact box responsiveness and page responsiveness. So I think what they're doing is kind of highlighting and focusing first the primary content of the page, and then the fact boxes.
Okay.
Which means that the users are going to be able to, they don't have to wait for all the fact boxes to refresh, let's say, before they see the data on a list page and can click on something.
Nice.
So just better performance and responsiveness. Changes to the action bar and how that works. We'll have more details on that later. Low vision user improvements.
low vision user.
So if you know,
nice.
for
so maybe it's going to increase magnifying of
like font size, how font sizes and how icons react, and things like that. If you're using a large font,
nice.
Or high resolution, you know.
Yeah.
Bigger resolution.
There you go, bigger.
All right. So a couple other things. So you mentioned accessing multiple production or sandbox environments from the mobile apps already, which is one of the things. Also, the ability to launch multiple report request pages and multiple previews at the same time. So you run a report and you can launch multiple previews of reports at the same time. I tested this in the preview. I was able to run the same report multiple times and have multiple previews open. Either it's not there, or I wasn't user error, because it just puts one on top of the other.
Oh, really?
So I had to close one to see the other preview. All of them were still there, but I couldn't kind of put them side by side and view two at the same time. So I'm not sure if that might have been user error, or it's not there yet. Another thing for developers out there, there's a new Business Central Performance Toolkit that's available, and so what this allows you to do is, if you're developing, maybe you're just developing a customization, or you're developing an ISV or app solution, it is a new tool that allows you to compare the performance between different builds of your solution to make sure that your code changes don't negatively impact the performance of Business Central.
That's pretty nice.
So so if you're considering, hey, what happens if we add this extra field here and then change the sort of this report based on that? It's a tool where you can kind of compare the two and see, nice. What is the performance impact of that. Another new thing is the ability to do a point-in-time restore. We touched on this last month a little bit. The fact that with Business Central Online, Microsoft is continuously making backups of your database, right? Of your environment. And there's this new feature that allows you, basically, if something relatively catastrophic were to happen in terms of data, you've done something happens to the data, you actually could go back, pick any point within the last 30 days and revert back to that point.
Nice. I think there was a limit on it, though. Some crazy number, like 10 or something.
But again, this is emergency.
Right.
Only pull in case of emergency type situation. So I don't think it's something that people are going to hopefully need very often at all. But you also can then rename existing environments, right? So if you have a current environment that's your live environment and you're going to restore, you might want to rename your current one and then restore with the original name on it. Right. So you can rename existing environments and go to the point-in-time restore. In terms of the launch of some new features, there's a page in Business Central now called Feature Management. And what Microsoft is going to start doing is, when they launch new features with these major releases every spring and every fall, instead of just auto-enabling all these features, and then users come in one morning and there's new fields or new buttons and new functionality, what they're going to do is, for selected features, they're going to put them into this feature management. So you can see in this page, what are the new features that are out? You can try them out, actually, and then you can, when you're ready, enable that feature.
That's great.
And so some features you just may not want enabled, and other features you can enable them all right away, depending on how aggressive you want to be with it. So I think basically the objective there is to make these updates that are being auto applied less disruptive.
So I missed it when you're saying, are these features not enabled after the new release comes on by default?
Correct.
Okay, and then you have to choose to enable?
Yep. Yeah, and it's not every feature. It's selective features that it looks like that they believe people may or may not want to auto-deploy. right, without first testing it.
Mm-hmm.
And right now the new version comes out. Then once that new release comes out, then you can make a copy of that environment into a sandbox.
Oh, yeah.
And in your sandbox,
try them all.
Enable those features and test them out. Make sure everything works well. Then go into your production environment and turn those on.
Very nice.
Yeah. Okay. Couple more things. There's a new feature called retention policies.
Okay, what's that?
Retention, fancy words. So the retention policies, what it is it's a feature where you can set rules up on how long the system maintains certain types of log entries in the system. So now, in order to activate this feature, you have to there's an assisted setup wizard.
Oh, really?
So you actually go into assisted setup and you will activate or run through the retention policies setup wizard. And it's set up for things like change log entries, job queue log entries, report inbox entries. Again, it's not, you can't go in and select any data you want.
Yeah.
Microsoft, it looks like, is determining the types of entries that will fit into this feature. But those are the types of entries that can abnormally grow your database. If you turn on the change log to track changes to different fields on tables, that table can grow like crazily fast if you're tracking too much. Right? So to keep your database size from growing too large, you can say, you know what, I only want to retain 3 months worth of change log entries. And so that's an example. You can do 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year.
Nice.
You can pick and choose. Right now it looks like there's about 5 or 6 different types of entries that you can turn this on for. So I think that's going to help keep people from their databases growing abnormally large.
Sounds like Microsoft, though, over the past couple releases, especially the last release, there is doing a lot to help people maintain their database size. So I'm assuming that a lot of people are starting, as they use it more and more, it's growing. So
are you reading off of my notes here, Michael?
No, is that next?
Because my next one was that there's new administrative access to your Business Central database size and available capacity.
Hey. From God's eyes to my mouth.
Yeah. So that's a new feature. You can actually see how big your database is. Just even if it's for nothing else, just to know.
Yeah.
Right. How big is this database? Now you also can do some setups. It's called field monitoring, and I actually I misspoke earlier. Field monitoring has the assisted setup wizard.
Oh.
So the retention policy is just a page that you open. So you can just go to your little search button, hit retention, and you can open the retention policies page and get to that. But the field monitoring is an assisted setup. And what this is, it's so you can define a list of high risk or business critical fields. And then say, I want to track whenever someone has changed this field.
Oh, and does it create a log or something then of?
Right, it actually a notification.
Oh, really?
It's set, yeah. So you can set up a notification.
So business.
Yep. So examples of that might be your posting groups, right? Your different GL accounts on your posting groups. Someone turning on the adjust cost process, right?
Now, do you know if Microsoft is limiting this to certain things as well, or can you pick anything you want?
That, unfortunately, I don't know. It was not in the preview yet, so I tried to run it. It was not available. A couple like feature access things that people, if anyone who's done these things might like to hear this. There's a function, if you're running manufacturing and you have multiple level bill of materials, there's a function called calculate low level code, which kind of defines the structures and levels of your bill of materials behind the scenes so that it can cost correctly. That was a function that's always existed, but it was running slowly. So they improved the performance of that. that may not affect that many people, but if you're one of those people that it affected,
yeah, you're going to love it.
You would know. And then for items, so service and non-inventory type items, you now can set a default unit cost. So example of that might be if you have, let's say you add a service charge to an invoice or a freight charge to an invoice, and you're just going to charge customers a flat fee of $25 for shipping. You could then plug in, let's say, $15 or $20 as a default unit cost that gets transferred to your sales invoice lines. And that way you kind of have a more reasonable profitability calculation on your orders and invoices. So kind of a smaller feature, but I think could have a big impact if you're using a lot of non-inventory or service.
Makes life easier, yeah.
And then last but not least is integration with Microsoft Teams. I wish I could share some more details with you. Alas, not much available currently on that.
Kind of like our Beers Brewery.
Yeah,
there's not much out there.
They got that page. That feature page got put together by Metropolitan.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe October 1st is when they start rolling out the Release Wave 2 to customers.
Officially, it's October 1st.
Right, but it could take.
We've been seeing. Generally, it's like the 15th to the 25th of October.
Yeah.
Of the month, right? When we see these updates.
Right.
So updates generally, it's like they come out around the 20th, 15th to the 20th usually of the month. So, we'll look forward every day, but I'm anticipating it's going to be the second half of October.
Yeah.
And then even then, it's most features that will be released in October, and then there are some. Just be aware that that may not actually be deployed until future months.
Probably like the Microsoft Teams one.
Touche.
Well, all right then. So next up, we've got what? We're going to talk about the Company Hub app that is coming with the Release Wave 2 Business Central.
Yes, sir.
All right, looking forward to it.